What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Moderately Educated News Network. It's your boy Stefan here with my lovely co-host, Mr. Xavier Dukes, Mr. Xavier. So, guys, today we're going to be talking about the first act that was signed into law under the Trump administration. It was passed with bipartisan support. There were, a sect of House Democrats that did go against it, but essentially, it's the Laken Riley Act. If you're not familiar with Miss Riley, she was a lady who was attacked by an illegal immigrant, and this attack lasted for a while. I think they said like 10 to 15 minutes. She was basically fighting for her life, ended up losing her life. So this act was kind of passed in response to dealing with, violent criminal migrants. And essentially, um, yeah, what it does, it basically allows, or requires federal authorities to detain undocumented immigrants accused of specific crimes, including theft, burglary, assaulting law enforcement officers, and any offense resulting in death or serious bodily injury. And it empowers state attorney generals to sue the federal government if immigration laws are not adequately enforced, thereby increasing state involvement in federal immigration policy. So all the states that kind of border Mexico, like Texas, New Mexico, so on and so forth, they were basically asking for support from the federal government to deal with illegal immigration, and they weren't necessarily receiving it. Like recently, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas, he actually asked for like a $12 billion reimbursement of the money expenditure that he had to put towards dealing with illegal immigration. So, yeah, that's essentially what this is. It passed with a 263 to 156 receiving bipartisan support, as mentioned previously. And then it also got report in the Senate from Democrats as well. So, yeah, and we'll go ahead and.
All right, all new at 4 o'clock, the Laken Riley Act is officially law, becoming the first bill President Donald Trump signs into law this term.
So this act is named after nursing student Laken Riley, who was killed on UGA's campus. The Laken Riley Act requires the Department of Homeland Security to detain undocumented migrants for certain crimes. Those include offenses like theft and burglary, or those resulting in death or serious injury. Now, most lawmakers voted for the measure were Republicans, but dozens of Democrats, including Georgia Representative Lucy McBath and both Georgia Senators Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, voted for this bill. This bill signing comes as ICE reports thousands of arrests this week, including across Georgia. Trump took a second before signing this bill to speak about Laken.
Laken knew she wanted to spend her time caring for others. That's what she did. To her friends and classmates, she was a light of warmth and kindness in every single room. To her parents and family, she was everything in the world.
Jose Ibarra, an undocumented migrant from Venezuela, is now serving a life sentence for Laken's murder. Experts say that there's no connection between immigration and crime. Well, during the signing, the president also announced that he's directing the opening of a detention center at Guantanamo Bay to hold up to 30,000 migrants who are living illegally in the country. We'll have local reaction to this bill signing coming up here at 4:30.
So, all right, all new at 4.
So that's kind of the gist of what's going on, guys. And yeah, X, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so generally I would be in support of this bill. I think that it's important that we deal with illegal immigration. However, my one critique of the bill would be the emphasis on like pettier crimes such as theft. I know that DHS and ICE specifically, they do have limited resources and typically will prioritize the most demanding cases first, but mandating lower level crimes would only further thin out and stretch those limited resources. I know that once that bill was passed, I think I forget who's head of DHS, but immediately asked for like a budget expansion because like we got to find a way to fund all this if this is going to be mandatory. And I think it was a very low threshold for what states could sue for in terms of damages. I think you had to be able to prove $100 worth of damages. $100, that's it. Like it is an extremely low threshold for federal suits to be filed. Which even that I would be in favor of. Decent advocate for states' rights. And so seeing the expansion of those, like Greg Abbott saying, "Hey, I need reimbursement. This is a federal border, and you wanna say that I can't manage it. I can't manage my own border because Texas, Mexico is, the international border there. So technically it would fall under purview of the federal government. Say, hey, if I'm not going to manage my own border, then I need you to come do it for me. I would genuinely like all that makes sense to me for the most part. Let me see. Yeah, reimbursement makes sense. All that's good. One thing that I did not like of the bill was kind of this idea of it would require local law enforcement and things to assist with federal actions in the area. I think there was some verbiage on that. I don't know if the word required was used. Maybe you can correct me on that. But essentially targeting this idea of sanctuary cities, which again, I'm a advocate for states' rights, and if a state and its legislature believes that they have no interest in cooperating, not that they prevent federal agencies and things from enacting things within their borders, within a state's borders, but if they determine that they are not going to actively assist in detentions, which include reporting during arrest and detainments, not asking for immigration status, or whether that's requiring subpoenas from the federal government for imprisoned people. And then there's one other one. Oh, and then if I don't know, spit my gum out on the sidewalk, get hit with littering, can't pay the fine, end up in jail for 3 days, let's say. And on the fourth day, ICE comes through and they're like, hey, I need you to hold so and so, need to hold Ikel Hernandez for an extra day so I can, arrest them and handle that. I'm generally in support of states and cities not complying with that request because again, advocate for states' rights, and I don't think holding somebody past the purview of their what's the word I'm looking for their sentence is necessarily appropriate there. So while
So
I do agree it's an important issue to deal with legal immigration, yeah, states' rights are most important to me there.
I was gonna say, so from NPR, it says the act does not explicitly require local police departments to participate in federal immigration enforcement. However, it has led to discussions about the role of local law enforcement in supporting federal immigration policies. So
Yeah, yeah,
not necessarily that they're required to.
yeah,
All onus really falls on federal agencies and ICE. So.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, that makes sense. All I know is that there was some mention of that. I didn't remember exactly what it was mandating there, but yeah, that's my take on it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think it's necessary. And yeah, I could see where you're coming from as far as, with petty theft, resources being overextended and stretched, right? I definitely think they are going to prioritize the major cases. That's really what they have been focused on. Tom Hammond he is not playing. He is not playing any games. So, yeah, they actually have been doing like raids in a bunch of different cities trying to focus on international criminals with records, with like murder and so on and so forth. So, no argument or qualms from me here. I know some of the House Democrats that voted against it and some of the Democrats in the Senate, one of the things they didn't like about the bill necessarily was the fact that it said accused of a crime. And like you mentioned, like with Ekel, like, oh, he's accused, we need to hold him for whatever amount of time. Yeah. Hey, shout out Ekel. He's a cool guy. But yeah, so I could see how that could be a little sketchy because the legitimacy of certain accusations, right? That could be a rabbit hole. But overall, I think the bill is good for the protection of American citizens because there should be no universe in which what happened at Lake and Riley occurred. There's no universe in which a illegal immigrant in New York should be able to hit and assault a police officer and then literally get out of jail with no bond. Like, there's just things that have been like highly questionable that just should not be occurring. And I feel like this bill becoming a law is going to stop all that. So that's my take.
I would generally disagree with that. That one, it would stop any violence from immigrants. I mean, they're largely already de-incentivized just from the threat of entering the justice system entirely, because then that does open them up to the idea of deportation. Um, was this a necessary? I like the part that I like most about the aspect of this bill is states being able to sue the federal government. Probably a pro there.
Yeah, no, that
In terms of necessary to in terms of like deporting people and like targeting, I wouldn't say so. Like I said, DHS already has its list and its mandatory list that they're going to handle and where their priorities are. Um, no, I would generally disagree with the sentiment that this is going to deter immigrants from committing crime because they already, again, like I said, they face the threat of deportation if they enter the justice system. And I think study after study has shown that immigrants, both illegal and legal, commit crime at much lower levels than native US citizens. So I don't even think that mass immigrant crime is an issue necessarily worth solving. Is it terrible what happened to them? Yes. Is this an epidemic that is like we gotta get rid of them? Well, they're illegal, so you can make that argument. But because of crime, I wouldn't go as far to say that.
got you. And but what I mean is it further decentivizes crime because it's like, bro, like you said, $100 is the threshold for theft. So like even with that, like there's not like, bro, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I used to manage at a Sam's Club. You know this. Quite literally, the number of Hispanic people that would come in there that I'm not trying to say anything, bro, but some of them were not legal. They wanted to pay cash everything. They did not have any sort of like actual IDs or government issued IDs, and that's a whole issue because you're supposed to have an ID to get a membership because we put it on file. Anyways, back when I was there, right? And there were so many people before Sam's Club came up with the whole AI thing as far as like scanning the items when you're walking out the door from like whatever you got on your receipt and it matches everything up. So it reduced shrink a lot, which shrink is theft in retail if you guys didn't know that. But anyways, the point is that there was a lot of people who tried to steal a lot of stuff.
A lot of
And
Mexicans is what you're saying. There's a lot of Hispanics that
I'm
came up.
not even gonna lie, bro. Yes, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. And it'd be stupid things like freaking mozzarella cheese and tortillas and freaking like I kid you not, bro. And I'm not like trying to be freaking racist at all, bro. But this is personal anecdotal experience. The amount, especially with the freaking cheese, bro. The mozzarella cheese is so freaking bad. Like and then with the self-scanning aspect, they'd scan like because you could check out stuff on your phone using Scan and Go. So scanning like uh basically a lower price chicken and then getting the bigger pack of chicken,
They're swapping the prices on denim. Yeah, I feel you.
like all types of shenanigans, bro. I've seen it all. And we had to start bringing police in because theft was so bad. And that was before the AI thing came.
There you go.
I it's a new company, a new role, before they brought that, but it's just like, dude,
There you
I'm
go.
being honest. So that will at least as far as theft in that regard, that probably would plummet because like you said, if it's not violent crimes that are being perpetuated, I'd say like theft and petty crimes probably are to an extent just from personal experience, but that's once again just personal anecdotal experience, guys. That's not study related.
Makes sense. Um, cool. Do you have any feelings towards sanctuary cities? Should those be allowed to exist? Are they, do you disagree with them? What are your statements there?
So it depends on a few things, right? Number one, do the constituents in your state want it to be a sanctuary city?
Assume
Like,
it's yes.
huh?
Assume that it's yes.
Okay, well, assume that it's yes, and assume that they're okay with their taxpayer dollars going towards that. Then sure, I guess. As long as you're taking care of your own citizens first, then if that's what that particular state wants to do, then sure. But if you're having budgeting issues to where you're running big deficits in your state and you don't have money left over, like Ron DeSantis in Florida, for example, he runs his budget well. Um, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, what are you prioritizing? Are you allocating too many taxpayer dollars towards this? Is this something that you need to cut back on? I just say put your citizens first, but if you want to have a sanctuary city, you have money left over, cool, no qualms.
Cool.
But
Sounds good.
also don't like and once again, this is a great part about the bill you mentioned a couple times. Like, if there are immigrants coming into Texas, like they should be able to immediately ship them to whatever sanctuary city and get reimbursement for whatever. Because like if they're coming into Texas, like they're not gonna come into like, well, I mean, I guess they can come to California, but they're not gonna come into who has a sanctuary city? Does
Chicago,
Chicago like
I believe.
yeah, no, I'm pretty sure they do. New York too.
Sure.
Yeah, so
So
it's
you think
like,
Texas should capture them and send them into the United States?
well, I mean, well, no, I mean they should get sent back. But I'm saying like if for whatever reason there are like people that are actually seeking asylum and it's like proven because they obviously have their remain in Mexico thing now that Trump is
Yeah,
like brought back. I'm
yeah.
saying whenever they come back for their trial and all that bull crap, just handle that in sanctuary cities, bro, honestly, because
Okay, I would have to grossly disagree with that because I think you're misunderstanding the idea of sanctuary city at that point. It's not a literal sanctuary. It's just where the government of the state does not cooperate with the federal government. There are no additional protections for migrants in those areas, for one. For two, yeah, no, I'm curious. I don't know if Trump's remain in Mexico policy has been challenged in court yet, but based off my knowledge of fuck, if I can remember. Oh man, I'm gonna pass it back to you, and then and while I look this up, but I gotta go look this up for my own know-how. But to my knowledge, this Trump's Remain in Mexico Act, I think is illegal. Fun
really,
fact, my uneducated ass.
I mean, didn't he have it during his first term?
Yeah, let me see. He did, but that doesn't mean that's not illegal. Just like many of the other things he's done, including the attempt to end birthright citizenship and the threat to restrict aid from California for the wildfires. These are like momentously illegal acts that he's taking.
So let me ask you about the first one. What was the first one you just said? Goodness, it slipped my head that fast.
Damn, I just forgot what I said. Birthright.
Yeah, birthright citizenship. Do you think birthright citizenship in America should be a thing? Because I think personally that it is the Constitution being misinterpreted. Personally.
I'd be more than willing to hear your interpretation of the Constitution. Let's hear that.
Okay, let me pull it up.
You're stating with the 14th Amendment and the clause about people subject to its jurisdiction,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Oh, where's my important documents?
So it literally states all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside.
Yep.
So it essentially is saying that if you're not a foreign diplomat or enemy of the state or anything, like there are specific details, but like if you're subject to US jurisdiction, then you essentially are a citizen of the US if you're born here. But that doesn't necessarily make sense to me because if somebody comes over here, right? If somebody comes over to the States, are they immediately subject to US jurisdiction?
Yes.
No. Are they?
Yes.
Are they really though?
Yep. So my example for this would be is if the age of consent somewhere is 2 years old, let's say, I don't fucking know, Japan, and a Japanese citizen comes over here and fucks a 2-year-old, is that
That's
illegal?
crazy.
Is that
Yes.
a yeah, it's illegal. Therefore, why? Because they're subject to our jurisdiction, not where you just came from. Of course, that's a hyperbolic example, but there is such thing as sex tourism, and like people like the age for consent in Canada, I believe is like 16 or 14 or like significantly lower than the United States, and I don't know all the particulars of it, but there have been instances where people will go to different countries because things aren't like no, we can kind of get away with some shit. This is not unheard of happening. But yeah, no, if you're within the like another hyperbolic example, but for whatever reason, if there's a country that if you I don't know, if you steal bread from me, I can murder you. And then you come here, you steal my bread and I kill you. That doesn't that's not you, the laws where you just came from does not count. Like I'm sorry. Because in the United States we have a statute of um reciprocal force, right? You have the threat that is being enacted has the response has to match the threat. So hey,
Don't
uh
some of the details state to state kind of vary though?
repeat that?
Like, don't some of the details as far as like using force vary state to state?
I mean sure, but the
But regardless,
point of the example was not that.
but fair enough. That's why I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. I stopped myself. But that being said, the primary argument is that it's like you're subject to the jurisdiction thereof, right? But if you're a child, like, bro, you're not like,
Yep,
there's not
so
really.
and another great hyperbolic example is let's say a child comes out with damn Benjamin Buttons, is a perfectly sentient 90-year-old at the age of 0. And he has a just you know what? His mama's uterus that uterus, that coochie was so fucking warm and tight that he just wasn't rocking with it. I was like, he was knocking on the walls like, Mom, lower the temperature in this bitch. I'm sweating. And so he came out with a strap and popped his mom right then and there. Like
Oh,
that's
Stewie Griffin,
murder.
sure, bro. Oh,
It's
for sure.
murder. And why is it? Because the US Penal Code defines it as such. Of course, that's babies can't do this. Of course, like there's there's a great
There's
amount of
nothing in
hyperbole
regards
there,
to the
but
law that a baby can do.
the thought experiment being that somebody, no matter like regardless of age, is still subject to the criminal code of the United States. What were you
Well,
saying?
let me ask you this. Do you think that birthright citizenship should be a thing? Because if I have a kid in foreign waters,
Doesn't
that kid
matter.
is still a US citizen. And that
Uh
makes sense because it came from parents of a citizen. I feel like
Yeah, yeah. So
citizenship,
I think there's part of the 14th Amendment that outlines the fact that yes, if you're born to two American citizens, regardless of wherever, you can still be made like a citizen and be naturalized. Yeah, so like that's what happens if your baby's born in international waters, as long as you're not a diplomat. Do I think that birthright citizenship should be a thing or not? Personally, it doesn't matter. My opinion there is irrelevant because it's in the Constitution. Now you
but
can
you don't
argue
think it encourages illegal immigration where people will come over and
that,
have a
hey,
real anchor baby?
hey, like I said, there are things that are wrong with that system. There are negatives and pros for it, but in terms of like my opinion, doesn't matter what I think. I could say fuck. I could be fuck birthright citizenship, or I could say we should give it to people that are born in Canada and Mexico now, and just have a North America citizenship, right? I could have either of those two positions, but it doesn't matter. It's in the Constitution. So my thoughts there are like largely irrelevant. But to answer your question, man, I think based off the founding principles of the United States and the fact that it's in the Constitution. Hey man, I have to side with that. I think that there are kinks and things that we could revise and amend, but I'm not totally opposed to birthright citizenship. No.
So if they amend it and get rid of it, will you have an issue or you won't care?
If they were to if it went through the process and they got rid of it and it was ratified by what is it? Two-thirds Congress vote and then ratified by I forget how many states out of 50, but if it goes through that massive of a process, fuck it, yeah. I don't care. I don't care.
You think we have enough time on this one to cover Colombia and the tariffs and everything
No,
too? No? Okay.
I'm mad you gotta fucking let me outro first, dude. All right. That being
Well,
said, guys, thank you for joining us here today on the Moderately Educated News Network. As you know now, we're gonna be talking about Colombia here in the next 5 minutes. So see you on that video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and peace, dickheads.